This is the third video on clauses. Remember, there are three types of clauses that are subordinate clauses: adjective, adverb, and noun clauses. There's also an independent clause. The independent clause is like a simple sentence, or it could be a compound sentence if there are two independent clauses together. It is a complex sentence if there is an independent clause and a dependent clause, such as these three types of subordinate clauses. So, today we're looking at the adverb clause. An adverb clause works just like an adverb. First of all, it has to describe a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. So, for example, he will leave soon. He is the subject, will leave is the verb, and soon tells about will leave. It does not tell about the subject, he, then it would be an adjective, but this is an adverb. An adverb phrase, such as a prepositional phrase that's an adverb, in a few minutes describes will leave. Again, this is a phrase and not a clause because there is no subject or verb in it. Finally, we get to the adverb clause. He will leave when he is ready. He will leave is an independent clause. It is a sentence by itself. It's short, but it is a sentence by itself. When he is ready describes will leave. It is an adverb clause. He is the subject and is the verb. We are now on page 174 of your textbook. And when we look at adverb clauses, it says that it describes a verb, an adjective, or an adverb, just like an adverb describes an adjective, an adverb, or a verb. Usually, it will either start right after the verb. For example, here, you may sit. That is a sentence by itself. It is an independent clause. Wherever you wish does describe the words may sit, tells you where you may sit, and so, again, wherever is the beginning word of this whole clause is an adverb clause. Other places that adverb clauses are very much like prepositional phrases that are adverb prepositional phrases. They often start a sentence. And when they start the sentence, most often they do describe the verb. When winter sets in, it does describe hibernate. Many animals hibernate is an independent clause. When winter sets in is a dependent subordinate clause. It is an adverb clause. Remember, there are three types of clauses: noun, adjective, and adverb. And this is an adverb clause because it describes the verb. Finally, we get to this one where we say Jessica and Annaba look, and that is a sentence by itself. Yes, again, it's short. And then as though they have some exciting news for us. As though they have some exciting news for us tells about the look. Notice that these words though, when, whenever are not the subjects. There is still a subject, you, and a verb wish. There is a subject, winter, and a verb sets. There is a subject, they, and have is the verb. When we look at this sentence, happy because he had an A, Tony hurried home. So your sentence is happy Tony hurried home, and then because he had an A is the adverb clause. It does describe the word happy, and happy is an adjective. So here we have an adverb clause describing an adjective rather than the verb. He is the subject, had is a verb. Again, this is a subordinate clause because it does not make sense by itself. Because he had an A does not make sense by itself. Here we have Gabrielle can type faster. That's a sentence by itself. It is independent. Then I can is a relative, a subordinating conjunction that starts this. I is the subject and can is the verb. And then finally, we have this phrase or this sentence. So with this sentence, if it does not rain tomorrow, we will go to Crater Lake. We will go to Crater Lake is a complete sentence by itself. It is an independent clause. If it does not rain tomorrow is a dependent clause. It is a subordinate clause because it describes will go. It does have a subject, it. Does rain is the verb. It does not make sense by itself. If it does not rain is not a complete sentence, so that makes it a dependent clause, a subordinate clause, and it is an adverb clause. Something that will help you is at the bottom of page 174 are these subordinating conjunctions. These words will often start adverb clauses. Adverb clauses do describe verbs, adjectives, and adverbs, and they have to have a subject and a verb in them. So you will notice there are some words like after, until, before, that look like prepositions, and it depends on how they're used. If they have just a part of a prepositional phrase, it's a preposition. However, if there is a subject and a verb and it is used in a clause, it is actually used as an adverb clause. So, for example, up here we have, after lunch, we'll finish making the model airplane. After lunch is a prepositional phrase. There is no subject and verb in that phrase. We'll finish making the model airplane is an independent clause. It can stand by itself, but there's just a prepositional phrase attached to it. And this prepositional phrase is an adverb prepositional phrase because it describes will finish. The subordinate conjunction is used here because after you wash the dishes is a clause. It is a subordinate clause because it has a subject, you, and the verb wash. After you wash the dishes, I'll dry them and put them away. The independent clause is I'll dry them and put them away. The dependent clause is after you wash the dishes. It describes will dry and put. So remember that there are three types of subordinate clauses. There is an adjective clause that describes a noun. There is an adverb clause that describes an adjective, an adverb, or a verb. An adverb clause works just like a prepositional phrase that is an adverb. It describes the verbs. It often comes at the beginning of the sentence, or it will follow a verb. An adjective clause will often follow the subject or a noun in the sentence. Our next piece will be about noun clauses.